Hey guys, Mr. Luke here, and welcome back to another In My Opinion video. Now, I just want to say first off, thank you for 3,500 subscribers, 3,500. I very much appreciate it. I haven't had an opportunity to say thank you, so thank you to everybody who subscribed out there. Now, I was thinking, I was like, what is the point of this video? And I wanted to do it in my opinion and talk about international rugby league, talk about the Four Nations a bit, but I wasn't sure exactly what the point of this video would be, and then I figured it out. The point in this video is that I don't care about international rugby league. Now, it really sucks that it has that it's like that, and I feel that I'm in the majority when I say I don't really care about the international game at the moment. But uh, it's just how it is. I mean, you look at these four nations currently, right? I have not watched a second of the Four Nations, and I'm sure there's a fair few other people who will like that. Granted, the time zone is bad for us, so like the best time they play is like maybe 7 a.m. So that's I think that was when they played New Zealand, which you can kind of watch it if you really wanted to, but even then I didn't really care about watching it. And yeah, I'm not really interested in watching England play New Zealand or anything like that. I don't know. The quality of football, from what I can gather, has not been good, so that kind of backs that up as well. So yeah, see that's point number two. Quality of football ain't good. So number one point is that time zones. Number two is that quality isn't that good, and I feel like this Australian side that we got right now, it isn't very. What's the word? It doesn't have much star power. Maybe like it hasn't got anyone like I've already seen the good players that they've got. I've already seen so many times, and I can see them at Origin and all that sort of stuff. So I mean, seeing Thurston and Karen Smith, like I see that all the time. So it's not really they're not really a drawing card anymore, and I feel like even though like I put out a tweet when I saw these teams when Australia played New Zealand in their little trial game when they played in Australia, that was the last game I watched, and to be honest, right then I didn't really care about that game. It was just because it was on TV. There was nothing else on. That's the only reason I watched it. But when I saw the teams, I thought this is the worst looking Australian team I've ever seen since I've apart from when everybody was injured in the Four Nations where New Zealand actually got a win. I'll get to that later, but I saw that and I was like, man, maybe New Zealand should probably win this game. And then sure enough, New Zealand didn't win the game, and it just kind of shows that like even at Australia's worst, I say that, and then New Zealand actually did beat us at our worst, but for the most part, even a weak Australian side is still going to beat everyone else, which kind of just doesn't make it entertaining. And I feel that it's kind of I mean, maybe rugby union fans can kind of tell this. Like Australia aren't that good. That they're not All Blacks quality, where they're that much better than everyone else. That they just absolutely destroy everyone. Even though All Blacks, as I'm saying this, they did just get beat by Ireland in an upset. But you know what I'm talking about, where New Zealand are just so much better. And it's kind of just like, man, you're witnessing greatness right now. Whereas this like Australian team, even though they're winning, it's like not good. I mean, you got Blake Ferguson, like Josh Dugan in the centers, and like all that sort of stuff. Like it's pretty average team compared to some in the past, some of the other teams in the past, and yeah, it's just it doesn't make me feel like I'm missing out on anything and not seeing these games. And yeah, but back to the point, like with the growth of the international game, I don't know if it is growing because maybe for the smaller nations and that, but in terms of like Australia, like I don't think any more people are watching it for the international game. I don't think people care. New Zealand, I don't know if they care. They're probably all about the union still, and you know New Zealand aren't winning anything anyways in rugby league in terms of the Warriors, in terms of just their international team. They're not doing that great anyway. So. We go back to the Four Nations, whatever. This is the thing that everyone keeps going back to. It's like, oh well, Australia really that good? Well, they we beat you in the Four Nations, that sort of stuff. Okay, you look at that. They had bloody Sione Matautia on the wing. This guy ended up in reserve grade Knights the next season. That kind of puts him as weak that team actually was. It does put to bed the claims that Australia's like D team could beat New Zealand, but at the same time they only just beat Australia's D team. So yeah, it kind of when people use that excuse of like, oh no, New Zealand's actually is actually good. I mean, we beat you in the Four Nations, and they did beat them in the rugby the World Cup in 2008. But I mean, that's 8 years ago. That's a long time ago. For the most part, Australia just wins everything, and then even when New Zealand do win things or England win things, like it doesn't really change anything. No one really cares. At the end of the day, people still will think that Australia is probably the best team in the world. It's just a matter of New Zealand just happened to beat them. Whether that is the truth or not, that's probably how a lot of people have their opinion on it. But Yeah, this Four Nations, the Rugby League World Cup's coming up next year, I think it is, and I'm not very excited for that. Australia will probably win that, to be honest with you. And it'll be first and fair. Well, maybe there'll be a bit of interest in it because there'll be a lot of those guys' swan songs. Maybe it'll be Thurston Smith's swan song. Probably end up watching it as well because it's in Australia. But um, yeah, I can't say I'm that excited to watch it, and especially when State of Origin is just so much better. It's just so much more on the line. That's what it feels like anyway. It just feels like State of Origin is a million times better. Like it should be the opposite way around. Like imagine if Sheffield Shield was like the pinnacle of cricket and not like Test cricket. I know that's probably a bad example because people don't really like Test cricket anyways, and we're getting flogged. But I think you understand what I'm saying here. Because that's essentially what it is. State of origin is states like you'd think the international level would be the best, but it's not. And also, I want to point out that the eligibility rules it's kind of iffy. Like the fact that we can have Samuel Raja playing for Australia, and then it's weird he doesn't even get picked anyways later on. But yeah, it's kind of the best way to grow the game is by letting all those other countries like Fiji, keep those players. I mean, as soon as there's someone who's half decent from Fiji, Australia tries to come and claim them. Radradra, Uarte, Sivanasiva, that sort of stuff. And you know what? I understand why they do it. The players themselves do it because there is so much more money to be made playing for Australia. And I mean, you can't blame a man for trying to, make as much money as possible. Like this isn't a little bit amount of money. This is significantly more. So I don't blame him for that. Like you do what you got to do, but there shouldn't be that incentive. They shouldn't have be thrown around that money and being like, hey, come play for us, play for more money. Like this isn't club. This isn't like, hey, come play for the Bulldogs, we'll give you more money. This is international. You should be trying to play for your home country, try and do the best for them, try and represent them. But instead, it seems like bloody club. It's like club rugby league. It's stupid in my opinion. And if they're gonna do it like soccer, where you don't swap after you've played for ages. Like make them choose early on in their career and then don't really let them swap. At least that's in my opinion, anyways. Because though at the same time, there is an argument to be made. I've made this argument as well when I was talking to Kieran, scouting for FIFA on Twitter. We had got into a bit of an argument, a little bit, not that heated or anything, but just talking about actually was it him? Can't remember. Someone his eligibility rules, and we're just talking about how they said that it should be just black and white, and I was saying you can't really do it black and white because, you get the Tongans, you get the Samoans and all that sort of stuff who they might want to represent both. They have maybe one parent's Kiwi, one parent's Samoan, and they kind of feel strongly about both of them. So is it unfair to say that they have to pick one of them? I don't know. They probably should make them have to pick one of them, but I'm just saying, for them, having to pick one of them would be a super tough decision, but I don't know, maybe for the good of the game it would be better if people just picked one. But yeah, I suppose then people would just straight up pick New Zealand all the time. I don't know. Anyways, I've kind of rambled on. There wasn't a huge point to be made, I suppose, but I just wanted to talk about how the international game is pretty weak in my opinion, and I don't really care about it. Actually, one thing I would love to see, an international nines tournament, because I reckon that would be so cool. As we've seen, Australia, New Zealand, and well, I suppose New Zealand dominate normal rugby union, but they definitely do not dominate dominate the seven. Sorry, I think it'd be interesting to see how a Fijian side would go in the nines or a Samoan team, that sort of stuff. I'd love to see if they would be able to contest. Maybe that's the sort of game that they would be able to grow the game over there. Given the nines game, given that format, they eat up sevens, so maybe that would be the best way as creating some interest in the international game. I mean, who would you pick in the Australian team? Who would you pick in the New Zealand team if you're picking a nines team? Leave in the comment section below. I mean, you think there's so many players. If you think in New Zealand, Sean Johnson's got to be in there. Two of us, Sheck, all those sort of ones. For Australia, maybe like a Moylan or someone would be really good. Maybe a Moses Umbai or someone who are super fast. Like I don't know. Just there's so many options. it'll be interesting to see when Jonathan Thurston plays in the Nines next year. See how they actually go. I think Jared Hayne would be very, very good in the Nines. But yeah, I'm going to end the video here. I'm just rambling on. Thanks for watching, guys. If you did happen to enjoy it, leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you're new around here. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram. They're both in the description below. But it's at Mr. Luke on YT is the handle. Facebook page is in the description below. And like I said, leave in the comment section below if you're going to pick a Nines international team for whatever country you want to pick. Leave in the comment section below. Pick the 1 to 9. Alright, guys. Thank you for watching. I'll see you later. Bye.